Look at the Strait of Hormuz. Roughly 20% of the world's oil flows through this 21-mile-wide channel. Passage here is governed by freedom of navigation. No bordering country holds the right to block transit or charge a toll. In July 2026, the United States decided to tear up that rulebook. The U.S. president abruptly announced the reinstatement of an American naval blockade, seizing operational control of the strait. The terms of this blockade were entirely new. To pass through, ships would now have to pay the U.S. government a toll equal to 20% of their cargo's total value. The justification was that America needed to be reimbursed for providing military protection to the region. The world's most critical free transit lane is now a militarized, privatized toll road. Enforcing a naval blockade against a defiant Iran requires an immediate projection of force. Over the weekend, the U.S. moved to neutralize potential resistance, using sea-based drones in combat for the first time to strike an Iranian submarine facility. Iran responded with a massive wave of strikes. They targeted American military installations across Bahrain, Jordan, and Kuwait, effectively ending the standoff and starting a conflict. These bases house thousands of American personnel. Installations like Camp Arif Jan in Kuwait are primary targets, putting U.S. troops directly in the line of fire. By striking targets in nations like Jordan, the conflict is dragging regional allies into the crossfire and expanding the war's footprint across the Middle East. The attempt to collect an economic toll has achieved the opposite of security. Diplomacy has collapsed, replaced by a multi-front regional war. This new 20% toll is a sharp reversal of long-standing American policy. Previously, the U.S. administration warned that no country can legally charge fees on an international waterway. This principle is anchored in the legal concept of transit passage. Under international maritime law, coastal states are strictly prohibited from taxing or hampering the movement of civilian ships through these channels. For decades, the U.S. military mission was to prevent Iran from using these exact blockade and extortion tactics. Now, the U.S. has adopted the very behavior it spent billions of dollars to stop. Enforcing this policy requires a constant, aggressive naval presence, with destroyers patrolling the shipping lanes to ensure every passing vessel pays up. This unilateral move effectively shatters the post-World War II rules-based order. The traditional guarantor of maritime law is now its primary violator. Geography makes this blockade a logistical trap. The Strait of Hormuz is so narrow that massive tankers are forced into thin, shallow shipping lanes that run remarkably close to the coastline. These lanes sit well within the reach of Iranian coastal defenses. To truly secure the waterway, the U.S. would need to occupy the coastline, a move that would likely result in massive ground casualties. Iran holds a significant asymmetrical advantage. They don't need to win a naval battle. They only need to make the water too hostile for commercial ships to risk the transit. Iran uses small, fast patrol boats to harass shipping. These assets are cheap, easy to deploy, and nearly impossible to fully clear from such a cramped waterway. The U.S. has claimed ownership of a toll booth it cannot physically defend without risking a catastrophic, full-scale ground war. To counter the danger, the U.S. proposed a system of naval escorts. The plan is to have American warships guide commercial cargo ships safely through the toll zone. But military escorts don't solve the commercial reality of the shipping industry. Operators must deal with insurance actuaries, and no insurer will cover a multi-million-dollar tanker entering an active war zone. This leads to the civilian veto. In maritime law, commercial crews have the absolute right to refuse to sail if they believe their lives or their ships are in imminent danger. The presence of sea-based drones and ongoing military skirmishes triggers this veto. Trade has ground to a halt as ships drop anchor rather than risk being caught in the crossfire. While politicians issue declarations and deploy destroyers, the flow of global trade is ultimately decided by civilian workers and insurance companies. By attempting to aggressively monetize the Strait of Hormuz, the U.S. and Iran haven't captured its wealth. They have destroyed its utility, freezing the global economy in the process.